we'll do a whole lot better. Because we can see a God who loves. We can see a God who forgives. We see a God that's so merciful unto us. And then she said, Mother Gwen said it, how he's so good to us, but we treat him so bad. Mm-hmm. But if we can just think of his faithfulness, and we do in remembrance of him, then we might have a different outlook on the things that we do and say. So lest we forget. Everybody remember 9/11? Mm-hmm. Do everybody, the younger kids don't remember, but those that are of age, do you remember where you were when this was happening? Mm-hmm. Do you remember what you were doing? Mm-hmm. Why? Because that's an unforgettable day. That's something that changed history. Mm-hmm. It changed the course of all of our lives. The whole world was different now because of these acts. Well, think about what Jesus did. That's something that we never want to forget. Do you remember where you were when he reached you? Mm-hmm. Do you remember the things that you were doing when he reached you? Mm-hmm. Amen. God seeks after his own. And so we don't never ever want to forget that. My husband, he often testifies. I often testify. I remember. I will never forget how God saved me. I'll never forget where he saved me from and out of. I'll never forget it because God has been so good. So we don't want to forget. And as we have marks in history, Andrew's generation will never forget COVID-19. He back there asleep right now. Boy, wake up. He'll never forget COVID-19 because it has altered their lives. Trey will never forget it. He's old enough to remember. It has altered their lives. They can't go to school. They can't go. He want to go to Francis. That's all he talk about. When it get hot, can I go to Francis Meadows? That's the aquatic center up in Gainesville, the swimming pool. They will never forget because it has altered their lives. That means their lives were changed. God has changed our lives. Mm-hmm. And so we should never forget what God has done for us. Amen. So the outline says preparation for the Passover. How many know that we have to make preparation? Mm-hmm. I don't know if y'all remember or not, but I remember telling you all, that's one of the things that sticks out. When they were getting ready to leave Egypt, they had to be prepared. God gave a list of instructions. He said, have your shoes on. In other words, be ready to go. I got one son said, I'm ready to go. He said, you got to be ready. We can't be getting our shoes, looking for a hat, looking for this and that. No, you got to be ready because when I send that death angel, it's going to be wailing. There's going to be a lot of turmoil going on. And when I'm moving through and when I tell you to move, you got to be ready to go. How many know that when the Spirit of God is moving, you got to move with it? Mm-hmm. You slack, you get left behind. Mm-hmm. So we have to make a preparation. And these people had to make preparation. This was the time, this season when Jesus gave his life was the season of the Passover. It was a time of remembrance from when they were brought out of the land of Egypt. And here we are. Ain't God just good? Yes, he is. Here he is. He's going to die for the sins of the world. And he's bringing us out of the clutches of Satan. He's delivering us out of the hand of the enemy. Mm-hmm. And so there had to be a preparation for the Passover. And they talked about the man with the water pitcher. Now, this was very symbolic because it was a woman's job to go and draw the water. Men didn't have water pitchers. Unless they were sissy. No water pitchers for the men. And so that really gave them note and symbol of they knew something was drastic getting ready to happen. And Jesus had been preparing them. And sometimes people try to prepare us for things, but we kind of overlook it. They felt like that this was life. This is it. And we're going to walk with the master. And this, we're going to walk on up into the kingdom. They had that type of mindset. They didn't want him to leave them. Right. I mean, these people had left their homes, left their careers to follow Christ. Mm-hmm. And so 3.5 years, that's not a long time when you think about it. Mm-mm. Time moves so fast now. It's already, May? Seems like the year, you know. So we have given up all our livelihood. We've given up all of this stuff to follow Jesus, and now he's going to leave us down here. What are we going to do?
Amen.
So they had to prepare. And that upper room experience, they had an upper room experience. So we're going to look at B, the upper room, the things that happened up there with Jesus. Somebody read, please, B.
The disciples followed the servant all the way to his master's house. There they asked the house owner for the room prepared for their master. Following Jesus frequently meant sleeping and eating outdoors. They had heard more teaching during walks through fields, on a hillside, in a boat, or on the temple grounds than they had heard inside a building. This night they would eat inside in accordance with the law and to provide memory guides for the future.
Now look, Jesus often was in the boat, giving wisdom and instruction. Oftentimes he went out on the hillside and he began to teach the Beatitudes. There was always outdoors. They sleeping inside. He wasn't living in luxury. And I'm not against luxury. If your livelihood affords you luxury, then you go ahead. But when you using people and lying to them to get that, then that's where I have a problem with it. So, but they were so used to being outdoors. And then all of a sudden, we're going to eat in the house. And this was a grand thing here. They had to make preparations for it. So they kind of knew something was kind of off. You ever know when, I'm not talking about nobody. I'm just talking general, okay? When men get in the doghouse, they do things differently. You know what I'm saying? They'll bring some roses home. Or they try to be sweet and kind because they know they're in trouble. They could sense that something was wrong. When things are being done out of the norm, then you kind of scratch your head and say, something must be wrong because it's not really common.
Right.
And so here they are in the upper room, but it was for them to have a memorable moment. They may have forgotten what had happened outside, because this was a common thing. He's teaching outside all the time. He's giving the parables that he's always doing this outside, but now we in the house. That was something that they would never ever forget. And God don't want us to forget. He wants us to remember.
Amen.
Because when you can go down memory lane, you can be feeling bad. You can be going through some stuff. But then when you begin to remember how God brought you out of this, out of that, it gives you strength. And it gives you incentive to run on because you know that he's a God that delivers.
That's right.
And so this would be a memorable moment for them that they would never forget. And when we take, even in our generation, and when we bless the bread and break it and we partake of it, when we drink of the cup, when we partake of it, bless it and partake of it, it's a memory. Anybody know, do anybody just eat the wafer and drink the grape juice because it tastes good? I used to like the crunchy breads, but I was a kid. But that has a significant meaning to me now.
Right, yes ma'am.
Because you got to understand, with the Passover, they had bitter herbs. It wasn't like a good meal. It wasn't no turkey and dressing and stuff like that, collard greens. No, it was it was something to remind them of what happened over on the other side when they were in bondage and God was bringing them out. And so even here, it was a memory.
Yes, ma'am.
For them to understand what God was doing. Some of them, they were not alive when none of them were alive when this happened in Egypt. But it was custom that they keep the Passover year by year.
Amen.
But this is him fulfilling scripture. And so we should never forget what our Lord and Savior did for us. He died. He gave his life.
Yes, it
If you
did.
give your life, you give everything.
Yes, ma'am.
So, Jesus with the 12. It says the 12 apostles represented the 12 tribes of Israel. Jesus chose them to follow him, learn his identity. It's very important that we know who he is.
Yes.
If you don't know who he is, then you're going to miss it. You won't be able to worship him in spirit and truth because you don't understand. When you don't know a person, you have your own perceived ideas of that person.
That's right.
But you don't really know them. But when you get to know them, then it's a whole different ballgame.
Amen.
And so he wanted them to learn his identity, accept their new mission. Because now it's not the same. I'm not going to be walking amongst you, praise the Lord, Sister Sharon. I'm not going to be walking amongst you like we've been doing. We ain't going to be, this is not, I'm getting ready to go away. Now you're going to do some greater works because I'm going to the Father.
Hallelujah.
So they have to accept their new mission. A lot of us, we have missions. When we come on this side of the fence, we have a new mission now. And a lot of us haven't accepted that yet. They had to accept that. And they had to continue his work to the whole earth. Some of us, we doing work, but it's our own. They had to do his work. We are to do his work. So we have a betrayer in the group. Somebody want to read the betrayer? A betrayer?
Before you go there, I'll
Yes, sir.
say something quickly. You might want to elaborate on it. Thought about how that Jesus, a lot of people just think he had the 12, but he had 70 disciples. And a lot of them, when he began to talk about eating his flesh and drinking his blood, what they call him, what was that?
Yeah, they left.
They left because they thought he was, what's the word, cannibal?
Cannibal?
Yeah, when they eat human flesh, amen, and they said, this man crazy, what you mean eating your flesh, drinking it? He was talking about the New Testament. When this is symbolic that when you take of the, in the Baptist church, and I'm not putting it down on it, but when we was there, doing our thing and just going to church, just say we went to church, half of us were drunk, and like my wife said, they pass around and we get 2 pieces of bread, y'all drink, the cup will have, and a lot of them will have, some of them would have no fruit juice, they have red wine, and you can taste it, and you want, give me another one of them older, but they didn't know the importance of what it meant. But he said, often as you do this, in remembrance of me. And Lord's willing, maybe next Sunday we will have communion. But we want to examine ourselves because a lot of us take it unworthy. The Bible says if you take it unworthy, many of us are asleep, we're dead.
Right.
Because we don't understand what it means to drink of his blood and to eat of his flesh. So I thought about that. He had a lot of disciples, but when you so I tell the folks like now, even here, when they come down here and you talk about foot wash, a lot of them don't understand what you mean, man. You taking out my shoes, you putting it in the bucket, they don't know what it means. But Jesus is showing humility. Amen. He took off his robe and girded himself with a towel and got down and washed his disciples' feet. And we know that, in the desert when it's hot, you got on Sunday, your feet ain't gonna smell good. Y'all ain't gonna have to.
That's right.
You ever put flip-flops on in the summer? I just need a few real folks.
That's right.
For a minute.
You're right.
But he took and got down and washed their feet because he was showing them humility. The Bible said pride goeth before destruction and a haughty spirit for a fall. So he was showing them humility. Look, I don't care who I think, I don't care how much money I got in my pocket, where I live, how many cars I got. I'm going to show you I'm humble. Amen. There's commonality in the body of Christ. So he got down and washed their feet. But I thought about that. A lot of people just think he had 12 and he had a lot more. But when he began to talk about this, many of them left him.
Amen.
And many are called, but only a few were chosen. He chose the 12. So sometimes, I remember when we first came down here, we had a good crowd there.
We did.
And then all of a sudden, they start splitting.
Mm-hmm.
They left.
Yes,
But
ma'am.
God has his faithful few. And he gives daily, he adds daily to the church such as should be saved. And so we don't need to be acting like David and numbering the people. You can get in a whole lot of trouble for that. But just be faithful to what God has for you. But there was a lot of people that wanted to follow him. Remember when the man that dwelt in the tomb, Legion,
Mhm.
he wanted to follow God. He wanted to follow Jesus. And he told him, no, you stay here so you can be a testimony to the time of your deliverance. He wanted to follow, but Jesus didn't call him in that aspect to follow him earthly. So he chose these 12 though. He chose them. But the rest of them, they couldn't hang. So when he started talking like that, they left. And then they said, he asked the rest of them, he said, y'all gonna go too?
You also-
Peter said, Lord, you have a way to eternal life. Where we gonna go?
Right.
Amen.
So when we understand,
Amen.
when we have a level of understanding that there is no other place, then we know that we must stay. So he
Amen.
had a betrayer in the group. And it says deliverance always includes dying. In order for deliverance to take place, there's always death. When they left Egypt, what happened? The death angel was sent out.
Yeah.
Why? Because you can't take, there's some stuff that we can't take over here. And
Amen.
it says here, without dying, too much of the old bondage comes into the new phases of life. The Passover meal included a sauce made of the dried fruits, spices, and wine or vinegar to help reflect on the first Passover when Israel triumphantly left Egypt's death. Worshippers would dip their unleavened bread and bitter herbs into the sauce to remember where they had been and reflect on the hope that was before them. Jesus chose the bitter herb dip to reveal how the coming deliverance would include death by betrayal. Now, like I said earlier, remember now, he came and he completed his mission, but you got people in your group and you dying for them and they betray you, they deny you. That's some hard pills to swallow.
Mm-hmm.
This man sold him out for some silver. Our Lord and Savior. Then afterwards, he tried to give it back. They said, we don't want that. We can't put that blood money, boy. We can't put that back in the treasury.
That's right.
You done gone somewhere with that. And see, now he's eternally lost. Because the Bible said it would have been better that that man had not been born, the son of perdition. And he went and hung himself, went back to the place from whence he came, hell. So we don't want to be the person that betrays, but believe you're going to have a betrayer in order for deliverance to come forth. It's just going to happen. We don't want that, but it happens. In order for you to get to the next step, you got to have some of all kind, because they are the ones that make things possible. We say a lot of bad things about Judas, but he made it possible.
Mm-hmm.
Because of that, we have a right to the tree of life. Because of that, we can enter in. Because he did his job. Amen?
Amen.
And if he did his, why we can't do ours? So Jesus chose the bitter herb and dip to reveal how the coming deliverance would include death by betrayal. Contemporary gospel readers see the threads of the betrayal woven throughout the story. The original diners did not have the insight of reading the completed story. They did not realize how isolated Judas was from the other 11. They assumed following Jesus predestining all of them to reigning with the Messiah in his new kingdom. They might be all with us, but they're not all for us, and everybody ain't going where you going. Okay? Just come to that reality. Come to the grips that everybody that's with you is not always for you.
Amen.
I'll say it again because y'all looking at me. Everybody that's with you is not always for you. And where you going, they're not coming. Okay?
Amen.
They are there for that particular purpose to help you get to where you need to be. That's why the man said, leave my Judas alone. Leave him alone because he's necessary. And so we have to understand that Judas is necessary. All right? And they're all asking, is it I? Is it I? Is it I? Is it I? And Jesus gave them the answer to who it was. And then it says here, the Lord's Supper instituted. What's my time? Somebody give me the time.
You got 14 minutes.
All right. Praise the Lord. Jesus looked forward to that special Passover. The day had come for him to fulfill his purpose. And I told you, if you die and take purpose with you, you have not completed your mission.
Amen.
A lot of us have a lot of potential. We have a lot of goals, we have a lot of dreams, but it hasn't come to full fruition. If you die and take that with you to the grave, it is no good.
That's
Because we're
right.
going to all have to give an account for the mission that God has given each and every one of us. Purpose is in all of us, but we have to bring it out to fruition. Some 30, some 60, some 100-fold. But whatever fold that you were supposed to produce, I hope you produce it.
Amen.
Because if you take it to the grave, it's no good. It ain't gonna blossom there.
Amen.
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 So he says, as captain of our salvation, he lived to suffer so he could offer cleansing to all. See Hebrews 2:9-11. Jesus chose a new meal for new covenant people, a meal of bread and cup. So that's why he said what he said. And he said, I won't do this again until we get into the kingdom.
Amen.
Amen. So when we're going to have a supper, y'all. We're going to have a feast. There's going to be a marriage to take place.
Hallelujah.
We are the bride of Christ. And again, we shall do this. But it's not going to be until that day. And so that's why he said, when you drink of the natural bread and cup, which is a symbolism to my body and my blood, you do this and you do it in remembrance of me. Amen. So we need to understand that. So the bread, as they did eat, Jesus took bread and blessed and broke it and gave to them and said, take, eat, this is my body. Jesus fed the multitudes in the wilderness as a sign of his delivering power. All participants linked the bread to Moses' manna, but Jesus wanted them to eat of the new bread that gave life. Amen. That sustained them for that time. But now, this bread, if we partake of Jesus, amen, this is life everlasting. It's not just to sustain us for a little while. This takes us over into eternity.
Hallelujah.
This is the eternal bread.
Thank you, Lord.
So we are thankful to the Lord. We thankful for Moses' manna. That helped them in that time. And then they didn't want it. But this will get us to eternity, and we still don't want it.
Help,
We be
Lord.
honest. We don't want it. If we tell the real truth, because the way you talked about it, the way we treat him, that signifies that you don't want it. Listen, this way is too straight for us. We don't want the ways that God has the path that he has chosen, because it's the straight and the narrow. And we don't want to partake of that, because that means we got to get in tip-top shape. So this is the eternal bread. In John 6, it records this Jesus teaching on eating the bread of his body. The new bread would bring eternal life. The Lord's Supper includes 4 facts, which still guides us today. Jesus received the bread. How many know that we have to be in a receptive mode? You have to be able to receive. If I have I ain't gonna say $1 million, because I ain't gonna give none of y'all $1 million unless the Lord tell me I have to. Let's say I had a $100 bill. And if I come to you, Mother Gwen, and I try to give it to you, but you won't receive it, then what?
Then
You won't get it.
The blessing.
You won't have it. You can't use it for whatever you need to use it for or want to use it for. So he received the bread. So Jesus received the bread on the table just as he had received the 5 loaves from the boy when thousands needed to be fed. He chose the most common staples of daily living to create the symbol of grace. In death, he took the common nutrients of daily living and transformed them into a means of grace. The common things of life become something else when placed in Jesus' hand. Disciples freely give their master everything they have. Y'all hear that? Freely. Not grudgingly. If you do that, you can keep it. But when we freely give the master everything they have, that means your time. We often think of money. That's all we think about, money. But if we give him our time, if we give him our total being, ourselves, give him everything, all of us, what would the world be like? It would be a blessed world. They do not hide their shame or keep honor for themselves. Instead, they place all in Jesus' hands. He removes all shame and empowers the smallest gifts to become holy kingdom resources for the mission ahead. Amen. So this is, it's not something for us to keep for ourselves, but for us to be in receptive mode and to bless others.
Amen.
So he blessed the bread. He received. Freely we have received. Freely we ought to give. So that which God has given us, we need to be able to give back.
Amen.
So you receive, you bless. Let me read this right here. As our true high priest, Jesus took his blessing role quite seriously. His words brought life to all he blessed, even children, lepers, tax collectors, common fishermen, and prostitutes. All who place what they have in Jesus' hand receive the favor of God. Do you not remember the lady with the alabaster box?
Mm-hmm.
I love that song that CeCe Winans sang about the alabaster box. It took her a long time to get that. She had to sleep with a whole bunch of men to get that precious ointment in that box.
Mm.
But when God delivered her, she was willing to give everything that she had. Even that thing that she thought was so precious. And a lot of us, we have some things in our corner that we think are so precious and we don't want to give it up.
Mm.
But when we begin to give those things up, when we begin to give them to God, then we have favor in our lives. Do you not hear what Jesus said when she began to anoint him, wash his feet with her hair and with tears and dry his feet with her hair? I mean, she poured into God all that she had. Judas said, talking about betrayal, this could have been sold for so many pence and given to the poor. He wasn't thinking about the poor. Now Judas held the money back. He was the crook of the 12. And he said, leave her alone. Do they know what kind of woman touching him? He said he the Messiah and he letting her put her hair and tears and stuff on him. He said, look, I came into your house. You didn't give me no water to wash up with. You didn't offer me nothing, man. He said, leave her alone. Because this what she doing, it's going to be a memorial. Remember we talking about remembrance? So there she gave everything, her all to the Lord. And he blessed her. And today, she is a memorial because of what she did, because she gave her all. So all who practice what they have, place all that they have in Jesus' hand, receive the favor of God. So he broke the bread. How many know that he was broken for you and I?
Mm-hmm.
We got to be broken. He desires a broken and a contrite spirit. He won't despise those. Those are the ones that he blessed.
Hallelujah.
We don't want to be broken.
Mm.
We want to remain like we are and think we're going to get the favor of God. It does not happen like that, church. You have to be broken. We have to come to a place of humility. We have to be humble. Jesus was our perfect example. And I know because a lot of us, we walk fleshly minded anyway. Honestly, we just tell the truth. We walk so fleshly minded. We're not spiritual minded. We're fleshly minded. So that's why we have the strike back attitude. That's why we have the 3 times 7 syndrome. 21, I'm grown, I do what I want to do. Yeah, that's why we have that old Adamic nature, because we're not broken.
Amen.
God desires brokenness.
Yes, ma'am.
And when you're broken to pieces, that's when you can be the best blessed.
Hallelujah.
We worry about what people think. We worry about how it makes us feel. We worry about all of those things because nobody wants to feel humiliated. Everybody wants to stand direct and be noticed, But when we are broken, that's when we are the best blessing. So Jesus shared. So when we're broken, we can share. We can give to multitudes. So that's very, very important. And it talks about the cup. And y'all know the blood that Jesus shed.
Hallelujah.
It'll reach to the highest mountain.
Yes.
It'll flow to the lowest valley.
It will never lose its power.
As it was then, so is it now. Because Jesus never changes. And the power is in the blood. Amen. So let's not forget the cup. And in that cup, we got to remember, he said, if it be your will, let this cup pass from me. Death was in the cup. We often talk about all the sins that was in the cup,
Mm-hmm.
but death was in that cup. Because sin bringeth forth death.
Mm-hmm.
But we put a lot of emphasis on the different sins, but probably could have took the homosexuality. It probably could have took the lying, the stealing, the cheating, and all the conniving ways that we had. But death was in that cup. Those that he had become accustomed to for those 3.5 years. And now he has to leave them. He has to leave this earth. And if you think about it, 33.5 years, we say